Jesse.
And I mean, I like the play. I like the try from JCSU there. The thought is they say, hey, you know what? Let's just push over towards B instead of going towards A. But I just don't feel like you had the time in your favor to make a big push over towards B like that. And it was an easy rotation from all the high point players who were coming fresh off spawn. As soon as you touch B to wrap back over to there, 0.0, the clock will get stopped, but you just need one more kill for high point. It comes through. They shut it down again. And that's going to be a 2-0 lead here inside of the control. And after losing that S&D, you can see HPU is not playing around here in the control column.
Yeah, that 4 down was a big moment for JCSU, but because of where it was, I mean, Sexton spawning up over at Docks basically nullifies any chance you have at getting that tick towards A. And as soon as Sexton takes that player down, you can see the rest of High Point deal with business over at B. So, I mean, like you said, JCSU with the right idea, just the wrong execution. And now onto defense of their own. They are going to have to win 3 straight rounds if they want to take this control. And a big defensive round might kick them into gear. Tempest wins one onto Devilish. The trade's going to be there, so time is stopped. 1 minute 14. Freedom on the inside of A to collect progress.
Nades over the top here for the players on the likes of High Point, but this is a much better defense from the JCSU players. They're at least not allowing the by this time in the last round, High Point had already completely finished this tick off. They had 2 minutes of progress left on the map to make their way over towards B. So a much stronger defensive showing over towards this A site right off the rip here for these JCSU players. The issue now, though, is you still got all the players coming off respawn from High Point, and they're all pushing forward and now going to try to get back in A once again.
Bryza finds Brewing. Snaps down to Devilish, gets the shots, but can't finish him out. Tempest called to arms to trade it. It is there. Still split kill feed, though, 1 for 1. As it goes, Sexton is going to put Easy 6 feet under. And High Point now haven't yet gotten to this point. 36 seconds left to win out this round. And, I mean, there's not enough lives, or there's not enough of a life deficit, Jesse, really, for you to just put this all to kills. You need to cap one of these sites.
Yeah, you absolutely do need to cap one of these sites. You've got 27 seconds, though. Freedom is inside of the hill at the moment, so progress will start going up. And Freedom actually finds a big 2-piece as well, so this should allow them to now know, hey, we've got 3 down. Let's start stacking onto this point. There's that furthest player push forward and Easy. He will find 1, but the stack is still in. Second tick of progress is good.
K's shots there. 3 down for High Point. 26 seconds left now as all eggs are really being thrown at the wall. Tempest turns around, finds K's right behind him, trying to stretch to take these last players down, but the A site gets captured, Jesse, and we're adding another minute to the clock.
So minute 15, way less time now for High Point to try to hightail it across the map, get over towards this B site, and look at Kresl's positioning it as well. He just kind of conceded that point over towards A, and he's going to play towards this backside, towards the north beach portion of the map, and just kind of wait there. And actually, no, he's going to get aggressive off of that and push up towards the ring. I would have loved to have seen him sit in that position because he would have been the perfect player to be able to flank any push from High Point going over towards B.
Things are going to really sprout off of this Devilish flank. Easy trying to cut off this player inside of the sniper tower, but I don't think Easy really has an idea that he's up here. They're kind of coexisting together. Sexton finally going to drop off, and Easy's going to pick off these players. Sexton realizing the mistake he made. He's like, oh, there's somebody up there? I jumped over him? Oops, my bad.
Yeah, definitely not the worst situation now for Easy, though, because he's pushed up on this map. They've got High Point kind of pinned in the back, exactly where you want them when you're on defense. Only 20 seconds left for High Point to make it all the way across the map, and at this point, it's going to need to be pretty much individual pushes, because you only got 15 seconds. You got to go, High Point.
Yeah, you got to go now. 5 lives remaining, 8 seconds to touch this, and honestly, I don't mind this whatsoever. They have such a comfortable lead right now. They don't want to give any more lives to JCSU than what's already been shed inside this round. So they're going to concede the round, move over to defense. A lot easier to win a defensive round and put this one away. 2-1 for High Point at the moment as we flip sides.
Yeah, and I mean, not only do you need to win this round here for JCSU, but you need to make sure that you pull this off with a good, significant amount of kills, because you want that defense in the final round, but you are being outplayed pretty heavily through those first 2 rounds. That last round definitely going to help it a lot, but like you said, smart from High Point at the end of that round to just not concede any more lives to the JCSU players. JCSU, they don't want to show their hand yet early on in this round, and they're not going to push directly onto this A site, but a split feed comes in right off the rip, and really they just don't have a big advantage towards either site. They might be able to hop on A now, though.
They haven't hopped on A. They're still playing the kills. Tempest has slipped the line for JCSU. They have an idea on Sexton, but inside that feed, Devilish cutting off these players where they can make anything happen. And behind Tempest, this play amounts to nothing. Trying to work themselves back to this A site. But High Point have completely taken control of this boat once more. Kreza, easy. They find 2. That's the go-ahead now to start pushing to this A site. In goes Tempest. He finds Brewing, and they're going to start collecting.
So I believe it's an 8-kill lead right now for High Point that they need to be able to win this round by. So it's definitely not impossible, but they need a very, very dominant offensive win here on this defense if they want that final defense to really give them a good shot to be able to win this game out for themselves. So they hold on to a 2-life lead right now, but only 1 tick of progress and over towards A. And with only 20 seconds left, realistically, you got maybe 1-2 good more hits at this one if you're able to get back and keep the player
Brewing,
off this A
how
site.
do you find that kill? Easy still up top. Second tick's going to go through. Brewing comes in for seconds, and he's going to take it. 19.2 seconds. Brewing 3 in a row, completely opening up this A site. You need to hop onto this if you're JCSU, or you're going to kiss your Gav2 goodbye. Devilish going to snap onto Easy. Here comes the last couple players for JCSU. 1 last push remaining. K's the closest one to make this down. Sexton is going to take him out. And with 4 seconds left, High Point Esports are going to go up 2-1 in the series.
And High Point, they're able to just get it done at the very end there. A nice little 3-1 win, and it comes down to that first round, honestly, Colin. Every round after was pretty close, but High Point in that first round really, really dominated the JCSU players. A 9-life lead at the end of it and an offensive round win. Those are things that are very, very hard to bounce back from, especially inside of control. You got a good little fight there from JCSU towards the middle half of that game. It just
Welcome back College COD, week 6, final one before we restructure the regions based on placings and what we're calling cuts. And this upcoming matchup, we have a lot on the line, more so for Old Dominion than for UNCC and Niner Esports, but we'll get to that in a moment. Introductions, my whole chip with me. I've got Proper, and well, let's be honest, hey, Charlotte is in your backyard. And this Niner Esports team has definitely proven some worth throughout this opening stage. They've been looking pretty solid this point.
Yeah, the entire city of Charlotte is in my backyard. He's not wrong. That's sure. That's how big my backyard is.
Your backyard's huge. It's massive.
It's massive, dude. I have at least 20 dogs. Just at least
prime
20
real
dogs.
estate.
It really is. But yeah, I think that honestly, I mean, even for me, myself, coming away from the Cold War season, I'm very impressed to be able to see the amount of talent that does exist within the Charlotte region. They've been able to continuously impress me week in and week out, especially when you are taking a look at this Southeast Division B as a whole. High Point always trying to make that strong argument. We're a top 25 team. Damn it, put us in your rankings. They are up there 10-0 for themselves. UNC Charlotte is also making a big argument. UNCW is also there as well. Dude, there's so much talent happening in Charlotte at this current moment of time that it's continuously giving us bangers, and we're going to be treated to one here with a lot of stipulations on the line.
Well, UNCW is in Wilmington, but who's counting? The biggest thing here is that Old Dominion currently find themselves in a must-win situation if they were to sneak into the top 3 and the top cut. We'll learn more about these two teams as we slice and dice them down the middle of this head-to-head. And I think here for Old Dominion, 8-2 so far. The whole stipulations, big shout-outs to Heat, doing the Lord's work. 3-0 win would put them in second place in the pool. There's a lot of tiebreaker situations going on. 3-1 or 3-2, they've worked their way into the top 3, but just into third. But with a loss, they will lose tiebreaker situations and find them outside of stage 2. And then the big consideration, as you mentioned, for UNCC, with their one loss, they're either second or third, depending on what happens here with the results after all. And while you look down the line, 3 map losses for UNCC, and it was only to High Point.
Yeah, I mean, UNCC, they are guaranteed to be those top elite teams. Again, placing top 3, you're going to be put into the stiffest competition that you could possibly ask for coming out from the region of what we were talking about at the end of our previous series on the day. But, if you end up placing just below that, things end up getting slotted just a little bit differently. With that one loss, UNCC will at least guarantee themselves that much. Go ahead and take a look at the rosters. It's starting off, I believe, with UNCC. And again, as I was saying, I mean, these guys have continuously impressed me. The Niner Esports Club has definitely come out to play. Dark Fitty, Smiley, and Anku, definitely a roster that you want to be more or less looking at when it comes down to those top cut teams. One that might honestly impress you even more so when it comes down to their hard points.
And, we've seen a lot of this North Carolina Charlotte team on stream over the course of the last month or so.
That's right.
They've had a lot of marquee matchups. They had kind of an easier time getting into the season, and then a lot of their contest has come in the last couple of weeks. But this full 4-man roster has definitely showed up. It just comes down to that loss that they had suffered to High Point. I think that was kind of the one that everyone looked at and said, ooh, okay. High Point, good. UNCC, still some work to be done. Yeah, that's really kind of the only big difference maker that we've had so far in the schedule for them. And maybe an opportunity here for Old Dominion to possibly make them sweat just a touch. Because this ODU roster, I would say, has also really showed that, yeah, these guys can 100% hang at this level. The biggest problem is they're not quite able to get over the hurdle of the major teams in their pool as of yet. And they've got one last chance to do that here for Revan, Noodles, Nevermind, and Roach if they want to get into the top cut here for stage 2.
Just like every single time I see this, it's like you could have picked any username and you picked to go by Roach. I mean, that, like, it's either you're the toughest nail on the map, or you're just annoying. I don't know. Either way, I think that you really got to be able to look at what this team is ended up bringing to the table. When you and I actually casted over ODU a few weeks ago, Alan, there was one player that always ended up sticking out more often than not, specifically when it came down to the search and destroy, and that was Revan. Revan was always playing that instigator role that we know and love when it comes down to a lot of the different map modes that we have for search and destroy specifically. Be able to work their way in through the middle of the map, be able to find that 1-for-1 that we know is a big trade to come all the way through. But more importantly, being able to get 1, if not 2 kills and getting away with their life is also very impressive what Revan was able to do.
Yeah, we'll see. It was a map 5 affair versus Johnson C. Smith University, who was just finishing up their match versus High Point on Bravo. The only other loss that Old Dominion has is to UNC Wilmington. Seahawks giving them the better business of a 3-1. So that is why the tiebreakers are the way that they are. So for Charlotte and the Niners, they'll kick us off looking to retain that top 3 position, no problem, with a hard point starting us off on Tuscan, then a Berlin search, and then back once again to Tuscan for the control. Thoughts here for how Old Dominion could potentially come out swinging versus good Niner Esports squad?
Look, yeah, I already started highlighting it when we were initially framing up ODU's roster, right? It's all going to be on the back end of what Revan is able to bring to the table. When we were actually casting over top of this team of ODU, what they were able to play off of wonderfully was what Revan was continuously doing. Their entire name is Infamous Revan, and they are infamously able to always find themselves crucial amount of kills. You have to be able to then take away more of the map. That has to be the immediate turnaround when you are looking at ODU. From their 2 losses that they did end up finding for themselves, even when we were casting over top of them, it was always Revan in the front, being able to find an abundance of kills, but the rest of the team just lagging behind. That needs to be the immediate turnaround if you want to start off in the series high.
Oh, it really, I mean, the easy fix to that is count your numbers, take advantage, take space when it's given to you. That's been kind of the big key difference maker, I would say, largely for a lot of teams, especially on maps like Berlin Hardpoint, like Tuscan Hardpoint, where flipping spawns around can be done in a very quick, assertive force of effort. So we'll see. For UNCC, though, maybe an opportunity to throw a bigger bid into a top 25 condition if you can find a way to smoke out the Monarchs of Old Dominion. But the biggest thing here is you have something to play for if you're the Monarchs. That's the biggest thing for me, I think, when it comes down to it. You know, the last matchup we got, 2 top 25 teams, they're really just playing for top 25 seed positions at that point. Both teams had already been locked in. But for Old Dominion, getting into that second cut would be, I think, a hurt to what you've been able to show us so far throughout the year. So get into the top cut. Find a way to beat this Niner Esports squad. What do you have for us in map 1? Here we go. We'll find out.
Hey, maybe Niner Esports are feeling nice today, and they're just going to give ODU the shot to be able to get in top 3. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, give them hell. Niner Esports really show us what you have to offer. Again, their slaying power has been what's able to bring them to this very moment of time.
Boy.
And, well, you're exactly seeing why Fiddy just hits a route through the middle of the map. They find 2 in the back church. Noodles has no idea what's happening. Fiddy for 3 to start.
They do not expect, though, that Old Dominion will still spawn in, so here we go. Path to recovery already underway. Smiley in the corner. Not going to execute off any trigger discipline, so there will be trades to come out. And with that, just the first 15 seconds for Niners. For the Monarchs, looking to reset up. You're looking at Revan in the middle of the map to see if he can maybe make the first play. The thing about this is, with only 20 seconds remaining, you can already see the Niners are already looking to make a flip of spawns happen once again. Pinch to the hard point itself. Dark dealing with it. And the Niners will not give away a single second while also having Smiley in a position to try to flip the spawns around again.
Well, Smiley knows that there's still players back here. Did not put themselves in the back tank position, so still trying to finesse for their life, just trying to find any inch of a kill to speak of or information to be able to give for one of their teammates. Now, Anku up in top radio, going to play a pivotal role to be able to coordinate this pinch while Smiley is still trying to find these players in the back.
Still hasn't found anybody. Finally. No? Hello?
Oh. Find or get found back there, I swear.
Dude, he looked right at him. Probably could have read the brand on the back of his jeans, but regardless, Noodles able to find the kill. Never mind locking down the spawns, and for Old Dominion, this is successful for at least 20 seconds in the first 30. Still an opportunity to play for more, but as the second attempt coming through for the Niners, they will get the flip, and now it's on to Noodles up top to see if you can find a way to lock down this hard point and at least keep it contested.
Keeping it contested is the first step in a few more that needs to be happening for ODU. Look, you held on to these closer spawns for quite an abundance of time. You were hoping to maybe walk away with just a little bit more time, but it's more of an opportunity that it presents itself more than anything, especially through the first 3 hills. That contested time could be big, so long as you're able to hold for these P3 spawns, but you just can't allow Dark to get in over by the rooftops for free. That's going to force ODU to spawn mid-map.
Yeah, Roach is in a lot of trouble. Playing in the backside of the fountain. He's going to get a little bit of help through mid-zig. Dark trying to cut things off, makes his way into tiles, clears off the back heady. And with that, what happens to spawns here? Because Roach has found a couple of eliminations, but Dark in the back is likely going to be able to block, at least to some accord. And that will indeed occur, as Smiley will continue to put pressure onto the backside, but good response here from Old Dominion. The boys from Norfolk doing a nice job of holding onto this third hard point. Dark shut down mid-map, and the Monarchs looking good for the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, now it's just about holding on to the rest of this time, and now you're almost stretching yourself on 2 different fronts if you are Niner Esports. You hit this for scrap one more time. Looks like that's going to be the calls that you have one player hitting through Zig, one inside of Vines. The player mid-map gets dealt with all at the same time. A wonderful hold coming out from ODU. And I was talking about the 2 different battles on 2 different fronts for Niners. If you try to hit it one more time, great. You worked your way inside of scratch time, but now you better hope that you cut down these players for ODU mid-map to allow yourself a solid hold coming into 4.
Yeah, super successful third, but can you string it? That's the real question. Roach, good 1v1 win in the back versus 50. Oh, look at this spawns! Revan and Noodles will spawn essentially side by side with him, but they take a different route, oddly to say enough. And as they do, they lose their player in the back, and Roach will now spawn all the way out in Narnia. Kills, though, from the front for Old Dominion, looking good as they do possess the top side of Church. Problem about this is you still have a number of Niners inside the hard point, and they've locked it down to great success. Last player to deal with is Roach off that long spawn, and as he falls, Niners take the lead.
You know that new GIF that just recently surfaced with like the Pitbull Terrier, like spinning around in the room just relentlessly? That's kind of how P4 really plays out for me. And Niner Esports do a great job at just resembling that Pitbull to such a high degree, being able to read where all the different hits are coming from, being able to at least read when the hit was coming up from the ramp side, and they dealt with all those players in kind. Now, Fitty, well, an 8 for them turns and burns on a Roach as they were over on the bottom side of Fire. Can't get to the refuge of bottom map. His teammate of Vanku will be looking at, but an opportunity to turn Scrap into initial. Vanku can find one more.
Big moment here for Old Dominion to try to get this back to level terms. Have to find a way to break here. They lose Revan through the middle of the map. He actually falls 2 lives in a row off spawn. So for Old Dominion, they've lost a lot of their nades. They have not attempted to break 3. Dark has stayed fully healthy, and the kills has continued to turn up green. Never mind in the window, shut down. Roach, last one left, desperately dives in. And there's just nobody from Old Dominion anywhere near this hard point anymore. Another 30 seconds have come and gone, and Niner Esports have now grown their lead to near 100 points.
And Niner, throughout P5, just did such a great job. Look, they were spawning more or less over by P4 in the backside of the Church, Alan. And what they were doing so effectively is that they made sure that there was always an AR. Oh, you can even put an MP40 up there at some times. And Niner Esports were cutting down players in the middle of the map, never allowing a single member of ODU to be able to get down over by the well side, be able to reinforce that from the bottom staircase. That was just wonderfully played out for them. Now the 100-point lead is starting to grow, an opportunity again to turn Scrap into initial. Revan has to go big to make an argument for it.
Revan has been able to find at least one elimination here on rotation, sets foot into the hard point. That will alert the Niners. That threat is absolutely imminent. Good help coming through as Noodles and Revan combine for the last 2 members over the Church side. Now it comes down to cleaning up the hard point itself. Revan to the pistol, not going to be needed. Roach is good to watch over the top of him. Another brilliant moment, at least starting to unfold itself for Old Dominion to get themselves back into the mix. Noodles also making sure mid-map stays safe. Even wins the gunfight onto Smiley, who drops out of the high ground. So now for the Niners, last attempt to try to break on in, off of this hit at least, will be from the front. And Dark is good for the double. That will be enough to get the Niners in and push the Monarchs right back over towards their spawns.
Oh, Noodles is still finessing in the middle of the map, by the way, on a 5 spree. Knows that there's more players inside you, but did not have the whereabouts to be able to snap onto a player. That would have been a hell of a snap, to say the least, on top sandbags. But even still, you also have one player that's going to be Revan trying to run the route. Ankus will end up anchoring said route on the bottom side of this patio staircase, but going to probably recognize that there's going to be a lot more players coming this way as they do end up eating a nade to the face, but a great angle is going to be held dealing with Noodles, and that ends up buying so much time for Niners. Cut back to the bottom side of Church to reinforce too.
Help is here in a multitude of ways for the Niners, as the 200-point threshold seems like it should be met here very quickly. Anku picking things up. Sees a number of Monarchs right across the doors of P5, but it's never mind who actually gets the double. Noodles cutting things off through Church ramp. And that will at least push the Niners out of the hard point for a moment. Nice clearance for Revan, taking control of patio. Did he see the barrel of Dark? Well, it doesn't matter, he sees all of Dark now. Easy kill comes through. But the Niners setting up a bit of a pinch play. Revan reads it nicely. Good help coming through, 3 in a row. And how about Old Dominion? Right back onto their winning ways. And here's the thing. You've got Revan on rotation. If he can lock this down, this was the most successful hardpoint for Old Dominion in the last rotation to Hills.
Yeah, and Anku actually ends up hitting it for, what, about 10 seconds worth of time. Now it's going to be more of an annoyance for ODU than it is anything, so they have to win this rotation. Revan does bait out the first over outside of Wine. They know that Smiley's in here as well, so that'll lock down the second. That should be the squad spawns coming to the backside of 3. Over by the rooftops is going to be good enough. The setup needs to be a strong one to get a full 50, if not 60, coming through here on 3.
Well, they've got a really nice setup for now. You've got a deep anchor in the back. You've got a player on the hardpoint time just watching the fire alley, and the other 2 members are just on the outsides, making sure nobody comes through roofs or vines. So as they get one and a second gunfight coming through, they should know this entire hit's coming from the back. Noodles is very aware of this. Lots of damage, but no kills. Niners now stacking, making their play around the back, and they actually will force the Monarchs out to reconsider with numbers how they want to re-break into this hard point. Thing about it is, this is significant time on the clock, and, well, the Monarchs have essentially just given this time up. Revan trying to keep himself involved, but he was only on 2 HP after his 9 spree was not enough to fully lock down the hard point, and now it's the Niners within 10.
Yeah, that play to be able to send Revan to be able to battle for scrap time while the rest of the players trying to anger out for 4. That's if the hard point was close, like 180 to maybe like 160. But now it's 236 to 132. Niner Esports have 14 seconds, or all that require for them to break one time inside of 4 to close out this map.
Well, for Old Dominion, their last stand comes right here. Well, one of many last stands coming through right here. Fiddy just ADSing around the corner. Takes down a first and then follows up on a nevermind on the staircase. Free fire coming through. Old Dominion have to get here to break. They have touched at least for now, but there's not a lot of convincing numbers. And as they fly on forward, it's a scurry that does not look all that favorable, does it? There's 249. Last player not able to get into the side door, and it'll be UNC Charlotte in a solid spot to win by just over 100 in the map 1.
Look, again, when we were talking about these two different rosters, at the end of it, when you just look at Niner Esports from top to bottom, historically, from what we've seen out of Stage 1, is they're a bunch of little monsters. They're just a whole bunch of slayers across the board. You know, Fiddy finding a lot of different opportunities in the middle of the map, specifically in the early goings of things, starting off on the quote-unquote favorite side of the map on that P3 side. You have great coverage over by that tree box to be able to gun players afar with an automaton on P1 side, but I mean, Fiddy just hits in the middle of the map, and they set the pace early. Within legitimately the first 10 seconds of the map, Fiddy says, "Here I am, here's the game I'm playing, thank you so much for coming to my show," and then the rest of the team was just following suit. Smiley being able to find way too much value towards the middle of the map. Dark was also able to coordinate a lot of different pinches, and the end-all be-all really came through with how just coordinated that one individual and yet linear push came through on rooftops inside of 3. When it was ODU's best hardpoint throughout the entirety of that Tuscan now, and they got broken up all the way through rooftops like that. That says a lot.
Yeah, it really does. And you hit it on the head when we were in that P3 second rotation around. Like, if it was a tighter game, you lose the back, and the player inside the hardpoint says, okay, I'll forfeit this hardpoint for now, wait for help, and then we can 2-2 hit from 2 different points of entry and maybe retake here for scrap. But when you're down 100 points, you kind of have to hold your ground and hope that you can pop off. So, you know, I could appreciate the idea of it, but it comes across at just a poor time, largely.
Yeah.
So, convincing stuff from UNC. Charlotte, I should say. Gotta make sure we stipulate. A lot of UNCs in this. And we take a look at what's coming up next. Berlin for the search and destroy. Still, we have the Tuscan control waiting. And if I'm remembering back correctly, this Niner Esports team really only faulted in their search and destroy versus high point, I want to say, like, largely in retakes on defense and their post-plan setups on offense. Their initial executes on offense, I thought, were getting some success. They were just having a hard time holding those setups, if I remember correctly.
Very disjointed were UNCC, Alan. When we were casting over top of them versus high point, they were incredibly disjointed. You know, the heart and the idea of the play was always there, but being able to coordinate the pinch, you know, to even take Berlin, for example, if you're trying to retake the B site, you have to make sure that that player that is pushing over by the dock building, or over inside the boathouse, rather, is also coordinating that pinch on the backside of the warehouse. That wasn't exemplified when we were casting over top of them over by high point. It was very, you end up pushing this, and then 2 seconds later, I'm pushing out of the backside of this hard point. That buys the team in a post-plant situation just so much time to be able to give each other help. That needs to be immediately rectified if UNCC want to come out as dominant as what we saw in that hard point.
Yeah, too selfish, not enough selfless is kind of what it felt like at times. So, we'll see. We'll see. But for Old Dominion, again, the big storyline here, if you're just joining us in you're late, you are a Monarch, or you're somebody who's kind of eagerly awaiting the results of this matchup. Old Dominion needs to win in order to force a tiebreaker situation in which they come out in the top 3. They lose this, though, and they are very much so out of the top cut conversation. Which, you know, I feel like for a team like Old Dominion, based on what we've seen them historically versus JCSU, this is not a team that I would look at like, oh, like they made the top cut, or they didn't make the top cut. Are you getting good rehearsal now in stage 2? I think that they still could, whoever ends up being in that second cut. Because, again, this Southeastern division is deep. Like, just outside, I mean, a lot of the focus has been on what's going to be happening in the top 3 for each pool. But, like, UTK, Alabama, all are playing some pretty solid COD, largely speaking. And then you still have some major heavy hitters out of some of the other divisions that are not going to get into the top 3. that will also provide you a huge test in stage 2. So it's not like other divisions, like the Midwest. If you finish in the second cut, or the Northeast rather, you finish in the second cut of the Northeast, you're just not getting any good practice. Like, there's not a lot of good playoff caliber teams coming out of the Midwest that are not in the top cut. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I think even more so saying that from ODU, I mean, even if you do not place top 3 throughout this cut, you can't feel bad about that. It's not like you're any short of practice when it comes down to this division, be able to get some solid practice. I think it just comes down to the diligence of the players to be able to ask themselves in the morning when they're brushing their teeth, making their coffee. If they're me, maybe they're making 12 cups and Connie's slandering me about it. You know, you have to be able to ask yourself, how much do you want this? How much do you want to be able to be a playoff caliber team? And then you'll be able to find that balance in between your schoolwork, if you do have a day job, on top of being able to play Call of Duty. Look, if Casey Pander can do it, I'm saying that these college students are able to do it as well, also balancing their homework as well. Make sure that you do focus on that schoolwork. It is very important. But even still, you know, losing that first map, Alan, it's still not the end-all, be-all. You can still place third if you are ODU. You just have to be able to collect. If they go back and watch that UNCC matchup earlier versus High Point in the earlier weeks, to be able to correct or to be able to collect on a lot of their unforced errors in those post plants, in those retakes, and be able to see an even map count here.
We shall see. 3-man hit off the rip for Old Dominion over towards A. 2 Niners here to defend. One of which is playing backside pillars. Dark able to help out from the side door. Good for the first. Nice shots into Revan for the second. No reload needed. The last Monarch member here over the top of the bomb site. Does not love the look of that. Tries to get away. Runs into 2 more awaiting Niner members. And, well, Noodles. Sorry, brother. Niners knew exactly where you were. A nice little slide shell out the door as the Niners will strike first defensively with a flawless round with an ace from Dark. Yeah, 4-0.
So then you go back to everything that I just said and completely just throw all those papers out the window, and then you could look at it from UNCC and fully recognize, hey, we completely outgunned and outpaced these kids on of ODU on that Tuscan hardpoint. Why don't we just bring that same type of vibe down to the Berlin search and destroy, and that day-old strategy of let's just run into them and gun them. Never gets old, does it, down. Now we're going to have Niner Esports on the opportunity to be able to put themselves over by the B site. The way that ODU kind of set themselves up defensively, they will have one player at least watching the cross, but nobody besides Nevermind is going to be watching this very long B lane and didn't have the angle to stop Fiddy from getting inside that site and planting this rock.
And look at the post-plant setup. Niners could really do whatever they want here. They could play forward through B. They could retreat back over to Warehouse. They could also just wait to capitalize on this stack through Mailroom. World is their proverbial oyster. Dark's not done. He's going to get 5 before eventually be taken out, and, well, Revan is at least able to combine that elimination with one from Nevermind, so it turns into a 3v2 favoring the defense, but this is where Old Dominion needs to be polished in these retake moments, and, well, there's just not a lot of time left. Revan's going to come forward, take down elimination, but he'll very quickly realize the bomb is not planted for me, and Smiley with that elimination has confirmed the round no matter what happens with this gunfight, but, well, he'll take that.
And I feel like you know where my post round analysis is going to come to when it comes down to breaking this this B site. It comes down, it's a 4v4. Gotta get the player off the warehouse. If you don't get the player off the warehouse, that is the win condition within its own self. If you don't fly in there soon enough and at least have the coverage to be able to watch that player over in the clutch position over by the fence line or on the top side of the warehouse, it is it's not fun. Really not fun at all to be able to retake that B site. Dark, though, at least you were able to take them down off that 5 spree, so no streaks to speak of. It's back, at least for the bomb, and it's going to have a little bit of a tussle going over by that 8 side, but Smiley's going to be the only player over here this time around.
Same setup offensively, as you mentioned, though, differently placed defense for the Niners as they get aggressive over towards B, and Smiley just trusted to play his life, and boy, has he! 2 in a row, wants the 3rd, but Revan is able to pirouette his way in towards the side office. At least find one before Inku eventually gets the trade, and, well, UNC Charlotte, at the moment, speed running through this series.
Man. I don't even think they try to stun check that small room either. That's unfortunate. Even still, I mean, that is just, again, what we've come to expect out of UNCC. Any one of these players can have those big moments like that. Even going 1-for-1 would have been fine. Smiley says, don't worry, Proper, I got 2 here. Out of that small room completely stuffs that ODU push from ever really amounting to much of anything and buying ample time for the rest of the Niner Esports members to reinforce that push. So back to their old ways. Revan's got a sniper coming across this B site. Do they hit the shot?
Oh.
Reaction time? Not there. It's, all right.
Okay.
Okay.
Pistol. Revan. Well, he's been tagged up. This is the same angle that was being watched the last time around. Bomb has not been committed to being planted, though. Finally, it will go down for a second attempt as the rest of the Niners are trying to isolate Roach in the middle of the map. And they won't know it fully, but they've completely done that. Dark will confirm. Puts him on his 6th elimination. Revan with the pistol. Nervous movement here, waiting for help. Him and Noodles working this 2v3 retake together. And as Fiddy's able to hold on to a stun, he does at least get the information. Cannot confirm the kill. But as you'd expect, Smiley's just waiting for the time to pop up. And when defusing, nope. There's one on the outside. Dark over the top. Pushes back Noodles, and with not a lot of time remaining here, Smiley just needs to find a single kill, and he's done that. Not enough ammunition to finish off Noodles, but there's the help to finish things off, and Niners go up 4-0.
And I'm going for a little bit of a dive there at the enemy buddy hop one more time, but yeah, I think that Smiley is the perfect person to have in that position up on the top warehouse. Is probably smiling from ear to ear, just knowing exactly what is about to be coming all the way through, and I don't even know. can't even really ask for a ping check. Can't even be much higher than what would maybe be about like 40.
Yeah.
Just got to be able to pull the trigger there, Revan. I don't have anything else. Can't let that player cross for free like that. 4-0, Niner Esports on the defense this time around. Going to go back to their little 3-1 setup, but this time around ODU are going to try to hit this B site very quickly.
Roach, though, good. Able to find the first blood. That's going to put some pressure onto Charlotte, and even more so as Revan collects the second kill. So bomb will be planted here. Anku a pop. An opportunity maybe. That stun actually bounces right off of the wall in front of him, so he doesn't get any information nor any assistance from that, and his Noodles make sure that Smiley from the front can do nothing around the flank. Leads it down to what would be a 1v4 here for Anku. 27 seconds on the clock.
Can't tell. I can't hear Shift's voice. It's a good look, have fun moment.
True.
Has to clear away the fence line, has to clear away inside a mail, has to clear inside the bomb site. Noodles will see him, and they'll take them down. And that was a great little change of pace when it comes down to an offensive take for ODU. Again, you know, two different offenses now, Alan. They try to aggressively work their way inside of A. They ended up dealing with a flank down the concourse stairs the first round. They get absolutely put in the blunder by Smiley inside the small room the second time around. So why not? Throw a wrench in the system. Try to work your way over towards B. It was even a 3-1 defense again for Niner Esports because, let's be candid, their previous defense when they were in that same setup didn't go haywire over by A, but they just completely get mopped up over by the B site. Now Niner Esports going to take their turn to be able to hit this A site very quickly, but going to make sure that they deal with these players like Revan, who is getting mixy in the middle of the map. Fiddy will collect, and they have a little bit of a flank play.
You know, just fundamentally, as we get more trades coming through, I just kind of have a problem with that setup from Old Dominion. I get you're trying to put Roach forward, but if you've got nobody watching over the top of him from fire, you're just hoping that you're just getting blessed with a blind piece of timing. So, bit of a mistake there. Bomb gets planted today. 2v2. Still an opportunity here for Old Dominion. Smiley trying to back up, and Noodles has not seen him. That's not good. Smiley for the first, denied as Noodles does respond. Dark not in a position to get the initial trade, so backs up, tries to play the clock. 20 seconds to go, misses the jump, but he actually does avoid the stun. Sees Noodles and says, that's all I need. Lets you rewrap back around. I'll just play the clock, check this thing at 7.5, and finish things off no problem.
Very awkward setup defensively. Not having a player top fire to at least potentially deal with the push, because, I mean, even through all the other offenses for UNCC, there is always a player top third for male that you would almost expect for a player to at least get up top fire to be able to at least look through that window to deny at least the jump, if not watching the cross in the middle of the map. It's kind of a two different wins at that point. You could at least cover Revan to be able to get inside that corner, because it is a power position. Keep in mind, it denies a lot of offensive players from pushing aggressively inside of your own fire building. But off of that, ODU down 4. Got to completely turn things around. Set Nate over the top by Roach, but Fiddy, they'll pull the trigger. They won't allow that bomb to get inside B.
That's one way to change up your defensive look while still maintaining defensive pressure at B. And now look at the long hit. Dark and Smiley around the back. Noodles is watching this, though. Does find one elimination. Knows that there's a second. Couple of toe tags onto Dark, who really doesn't have an exit from this position. Although, there's a little bit of help as Anku was also pushing forward. That allows not just the trade, but also some flexibility for Dark to get out of dodge and reset the 2v2.
Bomb still dropped right outside that B hut, though. It needs to be collected by Nevermind or Noodles. They don't know where Dark ended up escaping to, and as Nevermind or Noodles are going to back up together, I mean, you're just going to have a lay of the land for Dark to read when this play is coming through.
Pretty good information. Dark just waiting for the moment to come around the back. And these doors opening will put a little bit of anxiety into Nevermind's back pocket. Deletes the woodwork. Nevermind says, what are you doing? I just put those boards up. The bomb gets planted. So now 50 has to do this with a pistol and a sniper rifle combination. Waiting to see maybe. Has Nevermind rotated back to a top position on the banisters of the warehouse? Not the case. Does see him on the cross. Quick scope not going to connect. Now to the pistol. Noodles waiting and watching. And Old Dominion will take their second round.
I mean, you're very blessed, I would say, or Nevermind to be able to at least, or Noodles, excuse me, to be able to work their way, pick up the bomb, and not get absolutely blown up by the sniper rifle on the dock side, missing that shot just a bit outside. Even so, one round in the right direction, I would say. I mean, every single one will be. That you are still down by 3. Niner Esports still up on map point. They go up 2-0 in this series. What's the play going to be for them? They have found value in being able to aggressively force their hand for a lot of these bomb sites. It's going to be over at A, but 3 players here defensively on.
Approach to the corner. Takes down the first 2. And Nevermind there to pick up the third. Good defensive setup here for Old Dominion. MP40s galore as they play aggressively over A. And now Smiley says, you want me to do what with this round? Nothing. We want you to do nothing with it.
Absolutely nothing can be done. And that would have been a hell of a retake. I mean, hey, it happened before, but I don't think it was going to end up happening not with you when you had the MP40 pressure and the bomb dropped in the heart of the offense. It was not going to be coming all the way through. I like this aggressive look coming through from ODU. In the first round that we got to see that was their third offensive take to aggressively work their way over by the B site. That got negated the previous round just by way of the sniper rifle. They still won it out. Where of attrition came through by isolating the plays on both different sides. Now they're going to go back to their round 1 strategy for both these teams. Actually, a second round strategy for Niner Esports. It's going to be Smiley over here with an MP.
We've seen this before. Smiley, though, only takes down 1. So not able to channel what the Monarchs had done in the previous round. But the bomb does get dropped, giving some time for Anchor on the back to at least threaten the flank. Can't confirm the kill, so he'll reposition. Biddy stole from the front. Dark looking for an angle maybe to work around a pinch of his own. And the bomb still has not been picked up. And even though trades are coming through, there is a lot of time off the flank for Charlotte to reposition. And as they do, well, there is no recovery this time for the Monarchs. 6-2 the score. Or 6-3, pardon me, the score. Old Dominion gave it a go in a couple of convincing rounds, but largely speaking, that search and destroy was in the back pocket of Charlotte pretty much from start to finish.
Yeah, and you know, ODU really could have given themselves a lot more opportunities. You know, if for one, you go back to that 3-1 hit that came through over by the A site a few offenses ago, if you just trade out Smiley a lot quicker, if you were able to at least go 1-for-1 over inside that A bomb, we very much so could have been loading into a very different or a different round count there at the end, Alan. They were doing a fantastic job on the back end of that search and destroy, isolating a lot more plays, playing off the information, being able to negate a lot more of these very aggressive, more awkward type of setups that we saw from Smiley inside that office. But, I mean, when you're able to find way too much value with what we were seeing over by that A side early, 2 flank plays coming down from the concourse stairs, Smiley going big inside of the small room for one of those rounds, I mean, that's enough to put one offensive team on skates.
Yeah, it messes with your mental, kind of envisionment of how this surge is going to go, right? Like, you have to think that you've got a certain playbook that's in mind, whether it's the counter or not. We're not going to give them too much credit, but you've got at least got your own set plays that you're thinking of. And when you're going to your playbook and saying, this is our top and second top, what am I saying? These are your top 2 plays, and they get shut down by single members, it really puts a headache into place of like, well, now what? Like, we just got completely foiled from the get-go without even seeing our play get off the ground. Do we try it again? Is it not that good? I don't know. I think there's kind of a mental battle that happens there when you find yourself getting stuffed immediately on entry. So for UNCC, solid start for them. Very convincing series up until this point. And again, just to kind of hit this over the fence, for Old Dominion, it's a must-win series for them if they want to get to the top cut. Not looking great, but it'll be a Tuscan control. Just try to start this reverse sweep for the Monarchs when we come back. Welcome back, College Con fans, friends, family members, whatever you happen to find yourself in. I'm iHoldShift with me proper, and we are in the midst, quite literally, in the middle of our final evening of Stage 1, and it's been all Charlotte here in our second stream going up against Old Dominion, a must-win series for them. Not looking great, but hey, we consider a Tuscan control for potential comeback efforts for the Monarchs.
Yeah, my backyard's popping off right now, Alan. I mean, when it comes down to this UNCC and Niner Esports are just really having their way as far as just, I mean, aggression is concerned. Their SMG lineup, seemingly undeniable. They were almost untradeable through a lot of those search and destroy rounds and even through a lot of the mixiness that we had there on the Tuscan hardpoint. But as you alluded to, we are heading to this Tuscan control where things are going to get a little bit more wily if you're looking at this as a fan for ODU to potentially start the hopes of a reverse sweep. You got to be able to hold out and to be able to make it all the way to a round 5 with some sort of a life advantage to be able to get yourself that ever so wanted defensive round 5.
I mean, it's just one of those things that with how the slaying has gone so far, you also kind of think that for the Niners, you could win this off of an offensive round as well. I mean, Tuscan, much more approachable from the attacking side than Gavudu is. Everybody knows that that's played Vanguard so far. So with that in mind, you know, you kind of have to put a little bit more emphasis on not just will things start to fall your way for Old Dominion. You kind of have to be the initiator when you're on the attack for making sure that things are continuing to go your way. Let's not just take that from the defensive muse, but also got to think about that from the attacking POV, because this is definitely a map where you expect that a team that's hitting as hard as Niner Esports is at the moment, they will be able to find at least some, if not full success on their attacks.
Even coming away from this as well, I mean, UNCC, if they lose this 1-3, 2-3, they still play second in the pool, but I think an 0-3 loss here would be a definitive point that you can walk away with at the end of the day, especially when it comes down to this Tuscan control, to say that you are that team coming out from UNC Charlotte to be able to make an argument how strong your SMG lineup is considered to be, specifically of what we ended up seeing from the SMG lineup in that Tuscan hardpoint. And as you said, very easy to be able to manipulate the middle of the map. Big power positions to speak of when it comes down to sequencing the A and the B zone. It will be Niner Esports on the offense first and foremost. Be a big tussle through the middle of the map. But the way that ODU are set up, also going to be, especially maybe thinking that it was going to be a B push, but now they have to be able to collapse knowing that there is a stack coming through on this A zone.
Yeah, and this is where trouble starts to brew when you don't have really any pressure over on your side of grass, and you have to largely result in finding success off the flank. And you can even see Smiley, he actually has not fully read this. Gets a little bit blessed off timing onto Revan, who hit that mid-cut. And with that, the A point already gone. The Niners only dropping a single life in the process of doing so. And with that, now a ton of pressure on the Monarchs. You've got to stop this upcoming hit from Charlotte.
Yeah, look at this progressive hit coming away from the respawn. 450 is actually going to completely clear away the P5 side. Unbeknownst to them, there will be a handful of players that will be set up for them over here, but Anku will end up at least going 1-for-1 over by the backside. That'll immediately mitigate the push unless Anku can continuously go big. If you can hold your life back here, it would be massive for Niner Esports to be able to find a push going forward for their next set of respawns. Won't be the case. Reset back to the middle of the map.
This is good focus here, though, for UNC Charlotte. You want to try to get this player outside of top bunks, control the high ground around Church, around not just the alleyway, but potentially giving you a second look over towards the zone itself. Nice elimination from Revan. Good pre-fire coming through as well, but just hit a little bit too hard, as Fiddy will eventually confirm the trade. And now you start to look once again back over towards the multiple points of entry for the Niners. They've got work in the back. They're already on towards the zone from the front, but Old Dominion, they've done well of kind of keeping responsible every single lane. It's a full team wipe in the feed. And with that, Old Dominion take their first life lead, now up by 2.
Up by 2, but still have a minute and 10 to be able to mount an offensive push. And it looks like the backside for Niners from this set of respawns, you're going to want to come all the way to the backside of grass. Now, you do have Roach in this position. They're going to get scouted out. Fiddy will take them down, but Noodles is in the best head glitch to speak of when it comes down to this game. Does find one, gets away with their life.
More in the back. Good for it. And help is here to make sure that this last player, Fiddy, is just flat out overwhelmed. 4 in a row for both Revan and Noodles combined for 8 total in pretty much a row. 20 playing up against 16 now. That in all was a 2-for-4 trade. Still for the Niners, looking to put some pressure around the back. They do have Dark looking to pitch from the front, and both players will actually find success. The thing about this is the Niners are slow coming to the backside of the map, so Old Dominion actually going to be a little bit split spawned, and that will allow them a chance to get over and make sure this zone stays safe. Last attempt here coming out for the Niners will have to be with these last 3 members, and it's all through the middle of the map, at least for the large majority of this. 15 seconds to play with. Never mind, very much so aware that this is where the hit could be coming from. And as he takes down one, he's even going to get the reload off to almost find Dark, but the numbers just aren't good for the Niners, as they will have to make a desperate play to get on to stop the clock. And they may not even be able to do that, as it looks like this round will come to a conclusion based on time limit, and Old Dominion take the first defense.
Yeah, I think what you were mostly looking there at the end, there had to have been a play call for UNCC. The Niners were able to recognize, look, we're down by 6 lives. They were able to find that last there at the end, but if that last play, albeit maybe you can get onto the zone to stop that clock, goes haywire, that would have been maybe about like an 8-life deficit continuing on through a lot of these rest of the rounds, and you want to really make sure that that life lead gets mitigated throughout the majority of these rounds coming all the way through. So an opportunity to be able to find yourself a very strong defense here if you are Niners, but Old Dominion very hot off the jump, or immediately taking a focus over towards A, but you got to watch your flank because Dark's trying to hit it.
That elimination from Anku actually makes sure that Old Dominion will have to largely focus on the front. Noodles trying to keep the back safe, but he isn't able to find the first elimination, and here comes the full pinch, and it's convincing, it's clean, and it comes most importantly before the second tick of progress gets locked in. And so now Old Dominion a bit trapped in their spawn as Dark has pushed even further forward, a massively advanced position, sees the barrel of Roach's SMG. That'll be good for 5 in a row working for streaks off the flank.
Roach 1-7, definitely not where we want to see them to be. It has to step up in a big way through this 4-life deficit, as you have a lot of presence for ODU going over by maps, but kind of hesitating on what they want to hit. It seems that they want to clear out bunks in the top side of Church first, but that buys Fiddy an opportunity to at least find a trade in the back, and Dark is still finessing in the middle of the map, by the way, on a 6 spree. Already got that strafing run in their back pocket. That's all they're going to be able to find, as Nevermind shuts them down. But as trades continue to come all the way through, Esports, not only do they have a 5-life lead, they can also play against the clock to be able to win out this defensive round.
Thing is, the pinch gets shut down. Fiddy was looking to make a play through Zig. So now who's the next one to come forward, if anybody? I mean, they're committing to this, are the Niners. That's the problem. You kind of feel like you have to keep going because you committed to this long play off the flank. The zone comes through, and Anku gets shut down. So now Old Dominion just down a life, minute 30 to play with, and they find Dark mid-map through Church. Things looking decent here for the Monarchs as they start to set up a push through Church side.
And they're also getting themselves up on top bunks as well. They deal with Fiddy. Fiddy is able to go at least 1-for-1. So that'll stall out the push for the time being for the Monarchs, knowing that they won't have a superior position to be able to get themselves in the back. But that's not going to stop Noodles from at least finding themselves isolated engagements inside of Church. But Revan's going to get spotted out on top of that ladder. Now you just have 2 players back over here for the Monarchs, of which Anku will hit. Take down Nevermind. That was going to be a really good look, but Roach has to stay alive in this position. They want to have any of a brighter spot to be able to make this next offensive push happen.
It's just so interesting, and one of the things you'll notice from the top set of challengers, and most importantly from the best control teams in the CDL, is when you're in a spot where you don't have a good look at getting all 4 members hitting or in and around the zone at the same time, you wait. I mean, especially with a minute and a half on the clock, you just kind of keep chipping away at the lives and keep stretching the defense. Like right here, this is a prime position. Like, you know that for the Niners, they're coming off of spawn. They need to get into defensive positions. It gives you an advantage, so take those advantages and then make your hit. The problem is, as it's actually pretty responsibly done from Old Dominion. Smiley just single-handedly shuts it down. 3 in a row. A little cinematic third person of the pistol whip. That will likely be about the end of this round as Anku is taking away P5. Nevermind, able to get the trade, but not enough time for anybody to touch.
Find at least one more kill will even things up as far as the lives remaining are concerned. No, they will not, but still that +3 lives. Be feeling pretty darn good about that after you lost a total of 5 in the previous go of things for UNCC. But even still, I think what was more of a definitive point, even across all of the gameplay, Alan, is exactly what you said. When it comes down to Tuscan control, a little less monotonous, a little bit more straightforward comparatively to the other control map that we have on Gavatsu, when you're able to at least put yourself in a position to be able to hold the line. You don't have to aggressively push the line of scrimmage into the enemy spawn, not until the numbers work their way back across from your spawn offensively. Gotta make sure that the reinforcements are behind you before you end up trying to fly into the enemy spawn. Love this call coming out from Niners on their upcoming offense to try to hit B with all 4 players.
But this is being met by Old Dominion, or is it? The defense was looking to set up aggressively to the front doors of the command center, and now all of a sudden there's a stack coming through, and the defense has to start finding kills, and they need to find them now. Second tick of progress already gone. Revan over the top, able to at least eliminate another one off the point. Third tick will be denied, but job largely done, and Fitty is making the 2 million IQ play of the century. Oh, I thought for a second he was just going to wait for his teammates to get to A, and then he would just get onto the B zone and find this third tick, but maybe Smiley will do that instead. Cutting right back through Church come the Niners, and then right back onto the B zone, looking for an extra 60 seconds by taking the unorthodox first control point.
I think what you were looking at for Fitty was almost expecting that if the gunfights go in the favor of Niners, that they might end up hopping over towards A, and so Fitty was going to put themselves in a position to be able to deal with players over by the grass spawn, but because the kills came through so quickly for Niners, they were like, look, I'm coming down the ramp side. I'm going to go complete over by B, which Smiley is able to do. Can't win the gunfight versus Nevermind inside of Radio, but now you took the harder of the 2 zones here on Tusky Control, and you have a minute and 45 and a tick of progress already speak of here today.
Oh boy, and Enku's stopping rotations from the front. The rest of the Niners know that the only hits available would be through the middle or from the back, but actually, Revan gets around the backside, but it doesn't make much of a difference. Third tick of progress coming through, and it will be locked in before the Monarchs can retouch. The kills were starting to come through, but it was just what they say, you know, a day late and dollar short. One of those type of situations coming into the mix as UNCC take the third round offense.
Oh, yeah, and that goes back to what we were kind of setting up. You were setting up heading in towards the Sussex Control off of the break from that map number 2, Alan, is that there's a very realistic opportunity that Niner Esports can just close this out on an offensive round, and I think that might end up being the end-all, be-all if ODU, of course, can't convert this offensive round. They were certainly disjointed. They did not showcase a lot of discipline of what we saw from Fitty there on the last offense for Niner Esports. A lot of presence in the middle of the map. ODU know that they got to capture this A zone early if they hope to have a chance to be able to win this offense.
The thing about it is there were moments of great success being built through their first offensive look in round 2. Got to take it over the finish line. The problem is it's not even getting across the starting line at the moment. 30 playing up against 26. No kills yet for Old Dominion. I mean, they've got full vacancy. They could rotate over into B if they want to stop the clock, but they're instead offering to play through the middle of the map, still hinging their attempts towards A will be where they find success. And, well, they're not finding much of it. It's a 7-for-1 initial exchange. Old Dominion, this may be it.
I mean, I don't even know if you can call that an exchange. That would require it to be fair almost on 2 different sides, but ODU are just struggling to be able to find themselves presence inside the kill feed as they are just getting wrapped, flanked, and just be wrapped again on so many different avenues. I mean, Dark is existing over on this side of the map, over by the tree planters box for such a long time. Fitty will see 3 players burst out from inside of the control center, and that is just not going to be in a great spot. Not unless you could deal with these kills as quickly as you were hoping through. ODU going 2 for 2 is not a great spot. That's a heads-up play from Revan to put themselves over by A to at least stop the clock.
Yeah, really good just individual moments from the Niners here in this defense. 4 in a row for Dark will, you know, be one. It's not even Exhibit A; it's more like Exhibit B. So many different plays coming across the middle of the map. Second tick of progress, though, going to be locked in. Opportunity to possibly get an extra 60 here. The thing about it is, you're going to have a minute and a half, down 9 lives, to get something going at B. And the other bit of good news as we're starting to look across the mini-map is, hey, the Niners really aren't in great defensive positions around the B zone. In fact, they're all kind of individualized at the moment. And this could lead to a significant turn in the lives for Old Dominion, and it sure has so far.
That's what I was going to be questioning, is when is Dark going to get activated. Was over on the grass side. They do get activated. They do find 2. Knows that there's one more player, 1 shot inside of Church. They'll deal with Nevermind. We're in great power positions to be able to deal with the initial push, but ODU just couldn't collect off of the lack of positional advantage that the Niner Esports didn't have.
Still an opportunity, though. Need to win a set of convincing gunfights. That'll be the start for Revan. Get some space to work with, making his way down through alley. Help on the way. Fitty will reveal himself and be dealt with. Problem is, you have players around the back, players on the high ground, and you don't have a lot of lives to play with here if you're the Monarchs, even less now. 28 seconds, last attempt. Fitty gets a read into Nevermind. least in some form. Oh, okay. Doesn't actually quite read Nevermind's jump. So now Old Dominion trying to stack things up over towards Top Church, but Anku shuts it down. 11v2, and with that, well, UNC Charlotte likely going to take themselves a 3-0 here, convincing one at that, which will not just cement them as the number 2 seed in their pool, but it also sends Old Dominion to the second cut, as they will miss out on the top 3 of their pool.
Yeah, you got to be frustrated if you are ODU for a lot of different instances. I mean, if you go back and you watch that VOD, specifically even from that Search and Destroy and through that Tuscan Control, they were just a few, again, I want to continuously use this phrase, disciplined moments away from getting themselves in a position to be able to convert rounds, both here on the Control and the Search and Destroy. Most importantly, when you go back to their first offense, Alan, when they had ample time to be able to play for at least one, if not 2 players in the backside of Church, backside column, you don't have to aggressively push all the way into the defensive spawn. You just have to wait, and you have to force out those errors, knowing that at least even if you touch that B zone, that there's going to be a player defensively coming to defend that B zone, knowing that it is the harder of the two to be able to take. A lot of defensive teams go for broke, making sure that that zone ends up holding for itself. And you can even go back to see what UNCC did so well to be able to convert that B zone first and foremost. It was 50, all the way in the back, being able to at least hold their life. And they didn't even pop off. Look, 17 and 17. They just made the right play at the right time. It just came down to Smiley, who, again, also didn't pop off. Found 2 crucial kills in the middle of the map. Then cut through the well in the bottom side of P5. And then showed presence over by B to be able to get that last tick of progress. It was really just Anku and Dark that were having their way continuously over by the flanks. And that just comes through with ODU just being put in a desperation mindset when it comes down to it against the clock, against the lives, both offensive and defensive rounds aside, when they just were getting eaten alive from their flanks.
Yeah, man, it's tough. And, you know, I kind of go back to the point that I made earlier. You know, the thing about it is finishing in the second cut for this division, this region in the Southeast is not as much of a negative as it is, I think, in other regions, because this Southeastern division is looking like one of the strongest. I would say like this and the West are probably the 2 of the strongest regions just by default of how the schools have fallen. So for Old Dominion, it hurts to not make it into that second stage, top cut at least, but you're at least in a really good position here to put yourself in a spot to look at and reflect back to what you had kind of missed out on in the first stage. Take that focus into stage 2 and do essentially what you did last year. Surprise us, make it in. Last year was through the LCQ and they made it into the playoffs and finished top 48. So, you know, that's the whole key is playoffs are not off the table just because you don't make it into the top cut into the second stage. So for Old Dominion, a lot of work to be done, but plenty of time to do it.
We're only halfway through the season, Alan. I think that's what's most important to look at. And ODU can, again, as you were saying, kind of mirror what they ended up doing through the Cold War season. But it just comes down to being able to almost not necessarily, I hate saying rely on your enemies, but when it comes down to it, you know that High Point and UNC Charlotte are not going to be in the same pool going into stage number 2. Scrim them as much as possible, as much as they're willing to be able to find it as well, to be able to really nitpick a lot of these mistakes that were really pointed out against ODU in these key matchups, against High Point, against UNC Charlotte today, to be able to then find yourself to be a stronger team. Look, sometimes you just got to get knocked down a few pedestals to be able to find yourself to be a diamond in the rough, and I think that ODU are just a few moments away from being that top team that I think that they know they can be.
We'll see. We'll have to wait to see that until the second stage. One more match to finish off this final week of stage 1 before we start digging into week 7 and the first opening week of stage 2. It'll be Penn State, number 10 Penn State, going up against Shenandoah Valley. They're the team currently sitting at the number 2 seed in that pool. So it's another matchup to see what exactly will unfold at the top side of the group. We'll send things away to a break, do a caster flop, and then we'll be back with the final match here in day 2, week 6 after that.